Have you ever bumped into someone at the grocery store, smiled, started a conversation, and then, oh no, their name just slipped right out of your mind? You can picture their face clear as day, maybe even remember the last conversation you had, but their name feels like it's hiding in the back of your brain. If that's ever happened to you, you are not alone. Forgetting names is one of the most common little frustrations we face as we get older, and it can feel embarrassing or even worrying. But here's the good news: it doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It doesn't mean your memory is failing beyond repair. In fact, there are simple tricks you can use to keep your memory sharp and make those "what was their name again" moments far less frequent. Memory is a lot like a muscle. Just as our bodies need exercise to stay strong, our brains thrive when we keep them active and engaged. The problem is, as we get older, we tend to give our brains fewer workouts. Think about it. When you were younger, maybe you were juggling work deadlines, raising a family, remembering 100 little details every day. That constant mental activity kept your memory sharp. These days, life might be calmer, the routine more predictable, and while that's wonderful in many ways, it also means your brain might not be challenged as often. But here's where the opportunity lies. You can actually take small, fun steps to challenge your memory and give it that daily workout it craves. One of the simplest ways to do this is through association. When you meet someone new, don't just let their name float in one ear and out the other. Instead, link it to something meaningful. Let's say you meet a man named George. Instead of just thinking, "Okay, George," you might say to yourself, "George, like George Washington," or "George, like my cousin George." That tiny moment of connection makes the name stick so much better. The brain loves stories and pictures more than random facts, so when you attach a name to an image or a memory, you're giving it a home inside your mind instead of letting it wander away. Another trick, and this one's surprisingly powerful, is repetition. Have you noticed how a song lyric sticks in your head after you've heard it a few times? Names work the same way. When you're introduced to someone, say their name right back to them. If they say, "Hi, I'm Linda," you respond with, "Nice to meet you, Linda." A few minutes later, when you ask them a question, slip their name in again. So, "Linda, how long have you lived here?" Every time you use it, you're planting that name deeper into your memory. It might feel a little deliberate at first, but the more you do it, the more natural it becomes, and the less likely you are to find yourself stammering later on, trying to recall who's who. Now, you might be wondering, why is it that names seem to slip away so easily compared to other details? The truth is, names are kind of tricky for the brain. Unlike a person's job, their personality, or the story they just told you, names don't usually have much meaning on their own. They're abstract labels, which makes them easier to forget. That's why combining both association and repetition gives you an edge. It transforms that random label into something familiar, personal, and memorable. But here's another layer to keeping your memory sharp: lifestyle habits. Believe it or not, the food you eat, the sleep you get, and even how much water you drink all play a role in how your brain functions. Think about a time when you were dehydrated. You might have felt sluggish, foggy, or had trouble concentrating. The brain is about 75% water, and when it doesn't have enough, memory is one of the first things to suffer. So, if you find yourself forgetting names often, start by asking, "Have I had enough water today?" It sounds so basic, but something as simple as sipping a glass of water can sharpen your focus more than you'd expect. And let's not overlook sleep. A good night's rest isn't just about feeling refreshed in the morning, it's when your brain organizes and stores memories. If you cut corners on sleep, your mind has a harder time locking in the details from the day before. That's why so many people notice forgetfulness creeping in after a few nights of restless sleep. So if remembering names feels tougher than it used to, consider whether your brain is truly getting the downtime it needs to do its job. I know, sometimes the idea of memory tricks can feel intimidating, as though you're being asked to learn complicated systems or play endless brain games. But it doesn't have to be like that. In fact, keeping your memory sharp can be surprisingly simple when you focus on little habits that fit into your daily life. Meeting someone? Try the association and repetition trick. Feeling foggy? Drink a bit of water or take a short walk to get your blood flowing. These small, consistent steps add up in a big way over time, helping your mind stay sharp, alert, and ready to connect. And there's something else worth mentioning: attitude plays a huge role. If you've ever thought to yourself, "Oh, I'm just bad with names," chances are your brain will believe you. But if you start approaching these moments with curiosity instead of frustration, treating them as a chance to stretch your memory instead of proof that it's slipping, you'll feel more confident and actually improve your recall. The way we talk to ourselves matters more than we realize, and your memory thrives on encouragement just as much as your body does. So next time you're introduced to someone new, instead of bracing for the moment when you might forget, lean in with a little smile and think, "I've got this." Use their name right away, connect it to something familiar, and give your brain a tiny victory. Because each time you succeed, even with something as simple as remembering a name, you're reinforcing the message that your memory is still strong, still capable, and absolutely worth caring for. When we think about memory, we often imagine it as a single big container, like a closet, where everything is stored neatly. But the truth is, our memory works more like a web, with connections linking names, faces, places, and even emotions together. That's why sometimes you might remember a story someone told you 30 years ago but struggle to recall the name of the neighbor you just met last week. It's not that the memory isn't there, it's just that the connection is weak or not yet reinforced. Strengthening those connections is the key, and one simple way to do that is through repetition. Saying a name out loud right after you hear it, then weaving it into conversation, works wonders. For example, if you meet someone named Linda, you might say, "Nice to meet you, Linda." "So, Linda, how long have you lived here?" By the third time, your brain has already gotten a good grip on it. It's like driving a nail into wood, each repetition pushes it in deeper until it's secure. Another powerful trick that older adults often overlook is visualization. Our brains are wired to remember images far more easily than abstract words. That's why you can close your eyes and picture your childhood home in detail, but sometimes blank out on a name. To make this work for you, try attaching a mental image to a person's name. If you meet someone named Rose, imagine a bright red rose pinned on their shirt. If his name is Mr. Green, picture him walking through a lush green field. It might feel a little silly at first, but that's exactly why it works. The more unusual or vivid the image, the easier it is for your memory to latch onto it. Think of it like giving your brain a colorful hook to hang that name on, instead of leaving it floating in the air. Now, here's where things get even more interesting. Memory doesn't just rely on mental exercises, it's also deeply tied to your lifestyle. A healthy body really does support a healthy brain. Simple things like staying hydrated can make a surprising difference. Dehydration, even mild, can make your brain feel sluggish, making it harder to recall names and words. I've met many people who said they thought their memory was fading, but once they started drinking more water throughout the day, they noticed a clearer head and quicker recall. Pair that with eating brain-boosting foods, like berries, walnuts, and leafy greens, and you're giving your memory a natural upgrade without even realizing it. Movement also plays a huge role. I don't mean you need to start running marathons or lifting heavy weights. Something as simple as a daily walk can do wonders. When you walk, you're not only getting your heart pumping but also increasing blood flow to the brain. That extra circulation helps feed brain cells, keeping them active and sharp. Some studies have shown that seniors who stay physically active remember words and names better than those who are sedentary. And think about it, a short walk after dinner, maybe with a friend or loved one, gives you exercise, fresh air, and social interaction all at once, which are all fuel for your memory. Speaking of social interaction, let's not underestimate the power of conversation. Engaging with others, sharing stories, and listening actively aren't just pleasant ways to pass the time, they're workouts for your brain. Every time you tell a story, recall details, or listen carefully, you're strengthening the very circuits that help you remember names. It's almost like flexing a muscle. And the best part is, you don't need to force it. Just spending time with friends, chatting with neighbors, or even striking up a friendly conversation with the cashier at the grocery store can keep your brain sharp. One more often forgotten element is rest. We live in a world that glorifies being busy, but your brain needs downtime to process and file away memories. Think of sleep as your brain's housekeeping service. During deep sleep, it organizes and strengthens all those little details you absorb during the day. Without enough quality rest, it's like leaving your desk piled high with papers, making it nearly impossible to find what you need later. So, giving yourself permission to rest, nap if needed, and sleep well at night is not a luxury, it's essential to keeping your memory strong. With all these pieces, repetition, visualization, lifestyle habits, movement, social connection, and rest, you start to see how memory isn't a mysterious force slipping away with age. It's something we can nurture and support with small, intentional actions each day. And as you build these habits, you'll notice a difference not just in remembering names, but in your overall confidence. Instead of worrying about forgetting, you'll start to trust your mind again, and that alone can lift a huge weight off your shoulders. There's also a hidden ingredient to memory that people don't always talk about: emotion. Have you ever noticed how you never forget a song that played during your first dance, or the face of a teacher who believed in you? That's because our brain gives stronger priority to memories tied to feelings. You can use that to your advantage with names, too. When you meet someone new, take a moment to feel curious about them, or to appreciate something about their presence. Maybe you like their smile, their outfit, or the way they laugh. Linking a positive feeling to their name makes it more likely your brain will store it securely. It's not about forcing it, just slowing down enough to really connect. And speaking of slowing down, here's a truth that can take the pressure off: memory isn't always about speed. Sometimes, the best way to recall something is to pause, breathe, and let your brain catch up. So many people panic when they forget a name, and that panic actually blocks recall. Instead, if a name slips away, give yourself a moment of calm. Often, the memory will bubble back on its own. And even if it doesn't, there's nothing wrong with kindly asking again. People appreciate honesty far more than you think. Now let's tie everything together. Improving memory after 60 isn't about chasing perfection, it's about building small, daily habits that keep your mind active and alive. Repeat names, create vivid images, stay hydrated, eat brain-boosting foods, move your body, talk with others, rest deeply, and add a touch of emotion to your connections. Each of these steps is simple, but together, they form a powerful toolkit. So, the next time you meet someone new, instead of dreading the moment you might forget their name, see it as an opportunity. Practice these techniques, test them out, and watch how your confidence grows. Memory, like a muscle, responds to use. And no matter your age, it's never too late to strengthen it. Remember this: you are not defined by what you forget, you are defined by your willingness to grow. Every effort you make to care for your memory is also an act of caring for your future self. Take it one step at a time, smile at the process, and trust that your brain is capable of more than you give it credit for.